So here is the part of the expert panel. We wanted to get different points of view from different parts of the world. So we were very lucky to count with the following experts that we're going to be introducing as they share some of their experience. I think whatever we can take from there and just learn, we're going to keep, you know, getting together and having this type of spaces for dialogue. So just, you know, keep it in mind. And is everyone back from the small groups, Andrea, so that we...
I think so. Sampo is ready. I see him there. And I think the best thing is going to be so that we do an introduction with a slide that we've prepared for each one of you. And then if you, Sampo, as well as the other panelists, when it's your turn, can share your screen so we can actually connect with you as you're speaking to us. But so here's Sampo Loki that we met a couple of months ago. It's hard to keep track of time. It feels like only yesterday we met, where the stars aligned and the universe brought us back to Finland, where we've spent time, as you know, studying and delving into best practice. So Sampo has brought forward to the table a lot to do with well-being, and it's made so much sense to us in Mexico and Latin America, and I'm going to let him talk about it from his experience. I've actually prepared a question for you, Sampo, and from your experience and working with well-being during the pandemic with your students, what has been one of the biggest, or what have been the biggest learnings from your experience in Finland? And Gabby, maybe you need to stop sharing your screen so that Sampo can actually come out and we can hear him.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thanks, Andrea, and thanks for the kind words. I'm happy to be here, proud to be presenting School Day and our well-being solution for everybody. What we've been doing, and as Andrea mentioned and just showed, that my background is in teaching and leading a school and educating, training teachers, principals over the past 20 years, and now really found something to work with in order to make the true change in education around the world, and how we and according to PISA results, what we've done in Finland, what we've done differently, is that we've actually taken into consideration of student well-being and the importance of well-being, social-emotional skills and learning in order to create better results. So statistically, we have less hours, more breaks, more arts, sports, and so on in our curriculum, and that's all towards sort of taking students as an entire sort of people, as entity, not just the machines with STEM or mathematics or learning as such. So at the end of the day, it's about the critical years of kids growing up, and then we need to be able to take them as they are, growing people, not just machines that will learn and execute whatever they learned. So that's basically maybe the main idea in Finland and Finnish education. With well-being, with this difficult situation where we don't actually know, or we don't see our students, we are studying remotely, we don't know what the future will bring us. We know that the school is going to change, the education is going to change dramatically in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be totally different from what we used to. Maybe we don't have classrooms anymore. Maybe we have classrooms now and then, but at the end of the day, learning happens all over, and for that to be able to sort of happen, for learning to be effective, we know that we need to build well. It's obvious that if we are working as adults and then we don't feel well, there's some troubles at home or whatever with our physical health, we know that we cannot concentrate on work, and it's exactly the same situation with the students. Saying that, collecting all the material and then learning, the good thing about School Day is that we can collect a huge amount of data, and with that data for the past 3-4 months during the COVID-19, we've learned that that with the success cases with our clients that are doing well, it's actually, and this is very sort of comforting, it's not very big things that are changed. It's actually very small things that we can intervene, we can take into consideration, as Andrea and Gabi mentioned in the beginning, that very important that sort of we collect the data, we give students a voice, they feel of being part of the community, part of their own well-being, taking responsibility of their own learning. That's crucial, and with solutions like School Day, we can do that. We can give them a voice, and then with technology, with AI, we can actually transform that data into analysis and help teachers, principals, district leaders in order for them to make changes, to make allocate resources better, or find suitable content for different classes. We know all the schools are different, all the classes are different. So what we really need to be able to focus on is the classroom culture, and that's exactly why as Andrea mentioned, we don't collect any personalized data. We want to collect the data in a group level, the school level, because we know that if we want to make a change, we need to change the school culture, we need to change the leadership, we need to change the pedagogy behind learning, and those are sort of the issues. Those are the things that we are concentrating with School Day and then when we are developing education as such. Very important findings from the data is that what we found out is that the students, they don't like to study remotely. That's basically, I mean, we are social people. We want to be seen. We want to help out each other. We want to study together. So bearing that in mind, what we need to concentrate when we are continuing learning remotely, we need to be able to develop tools to work together, to help students to work together, to collaborate, to feel themselves part of the group. So a lot of the students in different parts of the world, they feel that they were left alone, they were left without support, without teacher, and part of it, it's a hopeless. I mean, it's a very difficult situation for teachers. I mean, never want to blame teachers, but we just need to concentrate on that. We need to be able to solve that and provide them opportunities to collaborate. That's the main thing. Other things that sort of what we found was very positive were that the students didn't feel very anxious, they didn't feel stressed, they didn't feel that they felt that they do understand the task what's required from them. They do understand what they need to do. They have enough support from the schools, the digital devices, and so on. So having said that, I can tell that this world has taken the change of this education leap, or what happened suddenly everywhere in 1 or 2 weeks. For the data that we've collected, we can say that it has been amazing, and teachers have done a huge job. The schools have been very supportive towards that kind of education and training. One thing we don't know is how the learning outcomes, if they've changed or not. But what is important is that the students still feel that they have sort of ownership in their own learning, and they still learn, they still feel valuable doing the assignments and so on.
Sampo, that's brilliant. That's awesome commentary and feedback from your experience. We really appreciate that. And having all that in mind, and knowing that the connection and the collaboration piece has become one of the most fundamental skills that we need to develop and opportunities we need to develop, we're going to go ahead and ask Diego now, with that less is more mentality, how you think we can prioritize and be flexible, Diego, in our own approach to adapt to these changing needs in our students, what Sampo has mentioned, the changing need in our students and our community. So how can we prioritize and be flexible in our own approach? Hi, Diego. Welcome from Colombia, Gimnasio Los Caobos. So happy to have you here.
Yes, I just want to clear up, happy to be here, that I am the director of junior middle school. I am not the head of school here. at the moment, okay? I'm the director of junior middle school.
We apologize in advance. Thank you. Thank you,
problem.
Diego.
Well, I think that less can be more, definitely, and less can be more when it's done very well. I think that we have to think in high impact practices. We have to think about pulling students in with fewer significant actions versus just worrying about pushing out information. I think we have to, more than ever, be very mindful of our intentions, and which actually being mindful of our intentions is best for kids, teachers, and overall school effectiveness. I also think we have to protect teachers from their own good intentions. We have to keep an eye on our teachers because I've had the issue in the last few months of teachers where I'm concerned about them burning out. So a few of the points I've touched upon with them that's important is, one, no 24/7 answering parent-student communications. I think as leaders, we have to set boundaries and we have to inform parents, students, that we have to respect teachers' time, family time, work time, family balance. I think that's important. And then when we do answer parents and students, we have to support teachers and maybe even train them in how to give them a warm response, how to give them an effective response. So that's also our responsibility, I think, as school leaders, how to prepare our teachers to do that. Because remember, our teachers are parents too. So we have to always keep that in mind. Another way we can help teachers and students is by managing student work. Make sure that they have enough training, they know how to use a learning management system like Classroom, Canvas, or even shared folders like Drive, where students can upload their own work and take on that responsibility. So that teachers, we can avoid teachers having to dig through hundreds of cryptic emails to know who sent me work, who didn't, whose work, does this belong to 7A, does this belong to 7B, does this belong to Johnny, to Jimmy, to Susie? That's exhausting for a teacher right now. And I think our job is to work with them to make sure that they can be as efficient and as effective as possible. And for example, using a clear naming protocol. For example, last name, first name, 7A, date, version 1. All student work should have that naming protocol on the subject line in their emails and in their work, making it easier for our teachers to be able to help them. Before the start of the school year, I think it's very important for us to develop a process or routine. How are we going to handle unfinished student learning? Okay, how are we going to handle deadlines? How are we going to handle any kind of reteaching? I think the more information teachers have and students have on that, I think right now information is our biggest ally. The more information and concrete information our teachers, parents, and students have, the more secure, the more calm they are. I know that we depend a lot on government regulations and government mandates, and we can't control that. But let's focus on what we can control internally and try to make that as easy as possible. Let's focus on having short, frequent assessments every day. Let's focus on having 3 to 5 students. Like somebody pointed out, let's do the group work. Let's do the group work where kids need that group work because they want to talk to their friends. They want to see their friends. They want to laugh with their friends. And while 3 or 5 students are working, as a teacher, I'm doing a lot of formative assessment. I'm meeting with small groups or I'm meeting with students. How are you doing? What's your next step? What connection do you see here? What are we going to work on now? How can I help you? I think that's key now more than ever that they have that time. Assign a lot of collaborative work for students. It's for their own social, emotional sake and well-being, but it also allows the teachers to have these conferences this time. Homework. Look at the research, please. Let's look and listen to the research. Unless in lower school and in middle school and homework is practically useless. We have to be very careful about what kind of homework. The homework that has been proven by research to be really effective is reading or practice in math, for example. But if we can't give practice in math until we are sure, or in anything else, until we are sure that students know how to do the work and understand it, at least to a great degree. If not, we're assigning 50 math problems on a topic they don't know how to do very well. So what are they going to end up doing? Doing 50 math problems incorrectly. I'd rather focus on having, focusing on using the time, bell to bell, being more conscious of our focus should be on the learning. The demand should be more cognitive and not physical as far as the amount of work we do. Let's focus on that. Planning, simple. Our whatever planning documents we request of our teachers, make sure that they're simple. Make sure that we can at least give them minimal feedback. But how do we monitor, I think, student learning during this time? Instead of focusing on monitoring if teachers are teaching, I think we should focus on monitoring if students are learning. How do we do that? Pop-ins on Zoom or their Meet, pop into the classroom, observe 15, 20 minutes. Afterwards, ask teachers questions, ask students questions. This not only gives us valuable insights into whether our kids are learning, how they're learning, but it also gives us that opportunity to do that coaching, to take them to the next level. What you do may change, how you do it may change, but why we do it shouldn't change. We still have our learning goals. We still have our mission, vision, and core values and principles that we have to be faithful to and that we have to fulfill. So that shouldn't change. But what can be adjusted is think about prioritizing learning. Let's look into power standards. Let's plan with the end in mind. Let's think about backward planning. There's a lot of research on this and lots of really good information on this from Larry Ainsworth, Douglas Reeves, Marzano. Douglas Reeves has a website, I don't remember the name right now, Creative Something, from ASCD, but it has tons of webinars and it's really valuable, practical stuff that school leaders and teachers we can implement right away. Let's focus on frequent pop-in observation of student learning. Again, I'm popping in to observe student learning. I'm not popping in to observe teaching, which I think is important. Coaching. Evaluating people to death doesn't directly lead to improvement for anyone. What leads to improvement? Feedback and coaching. Let's make sure that we give them timely feedback after the observation. Interactive lecture. This is from the work of Mike Schmoker. If you haven't read Mike Schmoker, I strongly recommend you do. He focuses on interactive lecture is, in Spanish it would be clase magistral, but it's a different way of doing it. It's an effective way to cover a lot of information and to promote active student thinking and learning. The teacher speaks for 3 to 5 minutes, pauses for prediction, pauses for cause and effect, pauses for synthesis, inferring, which is done by who? By the students. Okay, guys, from what we've seen, how does this relate to what we saw last week about the American Revolution? What do you think is going to happen next? Why do you think so-and-so made this decision? How do you think it could impact in the future? That's active student learning, and that can come with a lecture as long as we're not speaking for more than 3 to 5 minutes. Really important stuff. Let's look at these faces right now. Peter Drucker says that culture eats strategy for lunch. For me, emotions and relationships then eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Diego, that sounds amazing. I as I'm looking at this sandwich and that plate, and you talking about eating, and I love what you said when we had our conversations prior, and sorry to interrupt you, but it's all about making, what was it you said? Social emotional is not what we're adding to the plate, but it is the whole plate.
Exactly. It's the base of everything we're doing. And it shouldn't be now. I think it should always be part of education.
It should always be.
I mean,
Thank
if we
you.
don't, our school success, I think, depends on our practices, on our humanity, on our connections, on our relationships. It does not depend on programs. It does not depend on anything else other than that. I think that every space in our school, every moment is the right place to observe, to listen, and to connect. Let's look at these faces. Let's teach them. We're teaching students, we're teaching human beings. Let's teach them before we worry about teaching curriculum and content.
Thanks,
Relationships
Diego.
with teachers and students, I think, are needed now more than ever, and we won't find this in standards, documents, or exams. But it's something I think that has to be our focus now. And like Andrea said, social emotional learning is not something else. It's always been the plate. I think as leaders, we have a responsibility to not add more bacon, pickles, mayo, etc. It's not going to make the sandwich better. It's just going to cause everyone indigestion. Okay?
Thanks
It's
for
not
that
gonna
analogy.
better.
That's
Okay?
a great analogy, Diego. Great analogy. And with that, I want to pass it on now to Christy before we run out of time, because she's prepared also something along your lines regarding how we prioritize the whole child, how we prioritize these practices in order to do, and I love this, and this is what she told me when we talked. She said, how do we do wellness well? So welcome, Christy O'Brien from Shanghai International. We really, truly are grateful that you've amended this time difference between us. We are honored that you'd stay up this late to be in our group. Thank you, Christy.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. And this is a passionate subject of mine as well. And I really enjoy hearing what everybody is saying here tonight. I'm really going to try to tie what I say to other things I heard tonight, because I think there's obviously a lot of strong common themes that we're hearing. Andrea had asked me to come and speak today because we have already returned to campus. We closed schools in Shanghai, China in January over our Chinese New Year vacation. And we were going to stay closed until Shanghai got the virus under control. And that happened in March. And so then in March, we got the approval. The government told us, hey, if you guys get this book of processes and protocols in place and you pass our test, you can start school. And so what happened is that we got this, I call it a book, maybe 42 pages worth of dues that we had to put in place for health and safety measures before we had approval to open our schools. And we had a goal date of May 1st. So as we got this book of processes and protocols, you need to have entrance and exit doors that are separate. You need to have physical distancing in place. You need to have hand washing protocols in place. And, there's a million of them, as you can imagine. And we started swimming in it, unpacking it, and then we just had to take a step back and say, what are our guiding principles? We have to establish what our guiding principles are as a school and as a community, or we're going to be swimming in rules and processes and protocols. And so we established those first and foremost as that health and safety for every individual is our top priority. Second, that our school, SCIS, is a safe place to learn, teach, and work as a community, and it's a community responsibility. So once again, that ties to the community, that the students are part of this community that are responsible for making all of us safe. And then, yes, of course, the compliance and local regulations that we use, both from the Shanghai government as well as internationally, those scientific practices are what keep us safe. You can move to the next slide. And so putting that into student-friendly terms and putting that in front of our teachers for what are our priorities. We're not going to start school and say, oh, we have to get our MAP tests in. We have 2 months of school. We have to finish our MAP test. We have to get our English language proficiency test in. We have to get our Foundation Pinel test done. Oh my, we just lost all this school. That's what we did not say we were going to do with our teachers. And right then they just took a deep, big breath, and they were so relieved to know that we weren't coming in trying to get all of these massive academic tasks finished that got lost over the course of campus closure. So we said what our priorities is: the health and safety, of course. Number 2, social-emotional healing and community rebuilding is a very much a priority right now for our students and us. And then the third thing, effective teaching and learning for students. Of course, we have to keep that effective teaching and that going in our classrooms. So to put it as our student Oscar here, who is showing his big smile right through his mask here, getting ready for lunch. We are safe, happy, and learning. We want our children to be able to come home from school and to think with each other that these are the 3 priorities that we're doing in the return to campus. As you both said, with the culture and the importance of culture and being the foundation for everything, that certainly was what we want to do. So focusing in on the social emotional healing and well-being, So what we do before we talk about the particular role of the counselor, we do have a positive culture framework that was developed by our school that we pulled from many different resources that we do. So starting with our teachers, when we were getting ready to get back on campus, we said, okay, let's revisit our positive culture framework. All of this needs to be a big reset, just like as if this is the first day of school. And so that's what we started with. So we're we have the learner profile as an IB World School. So we have our shared agreements that are being caring, we are reflective, we are principled. So those are our school-wide ones. And then within our classroom, as a part of our positive culture framework, and one of our components is creating, building, and developing positive culture, which happens in the classroom. As Diego had been mentioning, and as also as Sampo had also mentioned. And so what does that look like in the classroom? We use responsive classrooms morning meetings, for example. And we said, make sure if those morning meetings, they need to have the social emotional learning brought into those morning meetings. And there needs to be the activities and games that is about collaboration and community building. And it needs to, all of the games that happen within morning meeting are collaborative, cooperative, where the group is building something together, and everyone always has a role. And so that whereas it's also that time where they're greeting each other every single day, where students are being affirmed, where students have leadership opportunities with leading those morning meetings, where students are giving their voice for what happens throughout the day. So all of those elements happening. Another component of our positive framework culture is our social emotional learning component and our mindfulness component. So with that piece of it, you can move to the next slide. So we had our counselor, Jen Peters, have a primary role here. She was also during the school closures providing lessons for all the teachers to do with social emotional learning. She was also in all of the classrooms leading this particular lesson and teaching the students the tools that they were going to use to, as everybody was bringing up, increase their own self-awareness of their feelings, be able to label and identify their feelings that they had throughout this. A lot of the feelings that our students have, boredom, frustration, also, 40% of our students at the time of campus reopening are also still stranded outside of China because the borders closed before we opened school. And so we had the girl at the bottom in the screen here, as you can see, she's got her buddy who is stuck outside of China that she's taking around with her through the day. So the students miss their friends. They're lamenting not being able to be back at school. There's so many emotions that are really tough that the kids are experiencing. The girl on the top, she's smiling, drinking her juice, waving through plexiglass at the lunchroom table. So we have the students, that was hard for them. And here they're smiling, they're talking under the table. So they're doing what they can to enjoy what they should be experiencing at school. So with Jen Peters, one of the quotes that she gave me for this slide was, "We have to wear masks, but I love being with humans again." So her lessons going in is she would go in and do a feelings check with the students and naming the feelings that they're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. What are you feeling? And then giving them the voice to talk about and process what they're feeling, helping them identify and label what they're feeling. And then the importance being, what can we do now to make it better? What good is going on right now in our lives and on our campus? And making sure that you can make that direct connection, that the students also have control to make it better. And they have the control to do the thinking about what that means. So whether that means go talk to somebody, write in your gratitude journal, draw a picture of a happy memory. She had the book series, a little spot of anxiety, a little spot of kindness, a little spot of happiness. And the students would be connecting their feelings to the books. And then those are also tools that the counselor was building in with all the homeroom teachers as well as a specialist for how can we always be bringing in the SEL and everything we're doing across our school day to help our students process and move beyond these feelings.
Wow,
and
Christy, thank you. That was really brilliant how you tied in the student piece after Diego gave us such an in-depth view about how to take care of ourselves and our teachers from that leadership position. I think it makes it just simply flowed. And looking at those happy student faces, we're becoming so good at seeing beyond the mask, because even though we can't see their smiling face, we just intuitively know, right? We saw it with Oscar, and look at these two little girls, and that just brings back our heart into everything we're doing. You talked about culture and that connection piece that Sampo mentioned. That's what we're trying to impact and create the school culture. And I love how you're grounding these in real tangible tools. So we really appreciate from your experience, having been there and done that. I guess you said it was 2 months ago, and we're heading into it. So thanks for the vote of confidence and illuminating our way, Christy. Thank you very much. And that brings us to Yogita, who is going to close the plenary session of our panelists. We know, Yogita, that well-being and connection we've seen today are inextricably linked. And in your experience, we want you to talk to us a little bit more about how you think we can continue to facilitate that connection from our youngest to our oldest students, and also among our teachers. Thank you, Yogita, and welcome from India.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea and Gabriela. Glad to be back here again. So would you want to put on the slide, or should I just talk like that? Before you put on that slide, let me just share a little something, since I am going to be talking about the connection between storytelling and well-being not just of children or students, but also of teachers. So, you know, once upon a time, there was a lovely teacher. Her name was Susie, and Susie would go to school every day, and her students would wait for her, because she would start her day by giving a hug, a beautiful warm hug to each of the child as soon as she entered her classroom. And immediately after that, she would make them sit in a close-knit circle and tell them a story. The children would talk to her and she would talk to them, and that's how every day they started their day. But one day, a monster called COVID-19 came into their lives, and children went home and the teacher went home. Now Susie missed her children, and children missed their teacher. And there was one little girl, her name was Anna. She missed Susie teacher so much that she would cry to sleep every day. Every night. And then one day, knock, knock, the teacher knocked at her computer, and she appeared on Anna's screen, and she said, "Hello, Anna. I'm going to see you from my computer and to your computer every day, and I am going to tell you stories. Would you want to listen to stories with me?" And Anna just hugged her computer, and that's how she gave our Susie teacher a virtual hug. And from then on, there was no looking back. So that was a little story which just came to my mind right now while I was listening to and looking at everybody.
Of course, Yogita, because you're gifted and you're filled with intuition. Thank you for brightening us up. You could see everybody smile.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So they say stories are healing, and storytelling is a healing process. And therefore, you know, I, as a storyteller and a storytelling consultant, I have been working with stories and storytelling with not just children, as well as, you know, but also with teachers, school leaders throughout this pandemic time in the last 4 months. And, you know, there are some reflections that I have. And also because Andrea asked me, what are some of the specific ways we can promote well-being given these times? So Andrea, if you can just put up the slide and just go one by one, I would like to elaborate. I've kept it very brief, just 3 points.
Yogita, will you go ahead and share your own slide? Because we only have your bio data slide, and I apologize if this is a miscommunication, but if you have it there, please go ahead and share your screen. Thank you, Yogita.
You're welcome. So, as you see, so how do we build connections with storytelling and well-being? What are 3 things that we could possibly do? Some concrete actions going forward. I can't. So reimagining the power of touch. We cannot stress upon the power of touch enough. And during COVID times, if our children, our students have missed one thing, so much is the power of touch. And we as teachers can't reach out to them and give them that hug or a pat on the back, which they so well deserve as well as need. So what could we possibly do is, in case you're already taking baby steps to reopening your campuses, you could have in your campus, if you have greens, you know, the small lawns that you may have, you could do your small story sessions in those lawns, in, you know, maintaining the social distance and keeping the students at adequate distance in the circle. And once you finish with the story and you've had your reflection session, each time a child is able to answer a question from the creative stimulation that they've experienced during the storytelling process, ask them to go hug the nearby tree. And that will give them so much more happiness and satisfaction. So what if they can't hug their teacher? They can go hug a tree. Other than that, if you're taking a virtual session, you may want to ask your students to sit with their favorite toy or a favorite, favorite toy or a favorite thing. If these are preschoolers, a favorite toy is generally a stuffed toy or something similar to that effect. And if they're, middle school or primary school children, they may just bring in something as simple as a pencil box that they're very, fond of. And each time you have the reflection session in your classroom after the story, they can just pick it up and give it a high five or a little hug, or maybe just put them close to their heart. It would just make so much difference. And I'm sharing this out of experience because in these 4 months, we have, whatever I'm sharing currently, we've been doing that. And we've seen the difference that we are able to make through these small little gestures. And parents come back and tell us that we want to come back and, re-enroll our children for the sessions that you're doing. The second thing that I want to talk about is the combination of music and stories. This is a perfect or, a perfectly joyful fusion. So before you start your sessions, it could be a storytelling session, it could be another session. Sometimes create that element of surprise. Ask children to pick up anything. It could be as simple as this, a cream box, or it could be a glass that they keep next to them, and just create spontaneous music out of that. When students and teacher create music together, they're able to help each other heal. So it's not just students who need healing and be taken care of their social and emotional well-being. It is also the teacher's well-being. And even though we are this will lead to a close bonding with each other, even though they are separated by distance, physical distance. So I'm just sharing some pictures also with you, because when you create music together, you can't help but smile. And a smile just brightens up everybody. So that is a fusion opportunity for us as school leaders, as well as school management, to kind of promote that in combination with storytelling. The third one is storytelling and laughter therapy. In India, we have, I don't know about the other parts of the world, but in India, we do have something called as the laughter yoga, where people, adults, as well as children, they come together consciously only to laugh with each other. And by the time they finish their session, they feel so much more relieved. The pent-up emotions that they have, they've built up within, it just gets released. The energy gets channelized. So it has almost like a healing impact on people. So what we could do possibly in our sessions, if you don't want to just make them a laughter therapy sessions, you could simply pick up some of the emotions and do some activities. If you're game, I could possibly do one activity with you right away for 2 minutes before we end the session. Let me come back to each one of you and stop the slide share. Would you want to do that? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm okay either way. All right. I see a lot of people giving thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to, so this is actually an activity that I do with one of my storytelling sessions on geometry when I teach mathematics through stories. And this is when we introduce so geometry and shapes. So I'm going to give you the name of a shape. You're going to open your arms, and just by the use of your arms and your face, you are going to make that shape or thing that I talk about. Okay, so for example, if I say the shape is heart, how would you show me that? I would request everybody to please put on their videos for this activity. It'll just take 2 minutes. Thank you. That looks nice. That was instant. And along with that heart shape, what you see is also a smile on your face. All right, the next one, number 2, is a triangle. Show me a triangle. And you could use all, the entire part of your hands. Yeah, lovely. There you go. Wonderful. Okay, the next one. Let me go to, the screen 2, which is a square. Try and make a square. Yeah, Paula, go ahead. Yeah, look. Wonderful. Try that. I'm going to give you extra 10 seconds for this one. Wonderful. Great. Okay. Okay. Give yourself a pat on your back. You're doing well. Good job. Okay, the next one now. Make a house. Ah, that's an easy one. Make a house. There you go. Lovely. And now, not just the use of our hands, but also of our vocal cords. Now, I want you to make the sound and show me ocean waves. And it's a low tide. All right. And it's a low tide, low tide, low tide. Sound, low tide. Okay. And now suddenly there's a high tide in the ocean. Wonderful. All right. So thank you very much. So that was a little piece of, experience. I just thought I'll save that for the last. Thank you, Andrea, for allowing me to do this. I just didn't want it to be a theoretical thing. But this is something that we do during our virtual storytelling sessions, because my center is closed right now. But our children and our parents continue to experience the magic of storytelling. And therefore, we feel that we're able to touch and take care of our students' emotional and social well-being, even during these difficult times. So thank you very much, and namaste from India.
Namaste to you, Yogita. Thank you so much for closing our session with such joy and happiness. I know that from your from your wisdom, we know that it's not just the students who need healing, but now more than ever, it is also time for us to take care of ourselves, take care of our colleagues, to strengthen our partnerships, to pool our resources, and to develop common goals. So identifying these opportunities to work together, to support all the members of our own communities, and above all, to sustain this, our work, throughout time. And we want to thank you today with Gabriela from Host Schools, all of you who have made this possible, and continue to develop our connections further as we go into this year ahead. Those are my closing remarks. I have only but gratitude, thanks, and praise to the work of Diego, to the work of Sampo, to the work of Christy, to the work of Yogita, and to the work of all of you, because together everyone achieves more, and we are a team when we work together in these sessions and in our forum. From my heart to yours, I want to teach you my own way of affection and touch is hug yourself, as Yogita said, pat yourself on the back. I cannot hug you, but if I were next to you, I would be giving that hug from heart to heart. So I want you to feel me, putting my arms around you, and also namaste from Sarasota, Siesta Key, Florida. I turn it over to my colleague, Gabriela, for last closing remarks. And I want to thank her. I'm ever grateful for my partnership with Gabriela. She always enlightens us with her designs. She knows how to express and synthesize everything that is so mechanically technical and analytic into beautiful images. Thank you, Gabriela.
Wanda, you're sweet. We're just very happy that you were able to join with us, and please be safe. We know the coming months might be difficult, but we know that we can handle this if we just, you know, give ourselves the time to learn from this and find tools and create community. And this is what this space is for. So we're just really happy that we have you here, and just save the date for the following session. We're doing it once a month. Now we're going to talk about one of the really interesting challenges, which is differentiation and learning during these unprecedented times. So please send us if you want to have access to all the materials, and just be safe and truly be happy. This is what we wish, you know, just try to face the following year with as much hope as we can.
What a beautiful sentiment to close our session. I know that the universe is nourished by our happiness, and the more we nourish it, it gives back in return. So all of us, let's keep positive and let's keep together. Together we stand united through this. Thank you again, and we'll see each other soon. Hugs and love. Bye, Alfonso.